and then
great.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raising Remarkable Teenagers podcast and video episode. I am so excited. And today I have another beautiful guest, Lori. And Lori is going to speak to us about something that's very powerful, a modality that's very powerful, yet so much misunderstood. And this is on hypnosis. I encourage you all to stick with it, and just learn, because remember what we say here, it's in learning that we are able to improve ourselves and be able to practice these modalities or these behaviors, so that we can not only change ourselves, but be the change that we want our young people to be, and also be able to influence them by the quality of our example. I'm so excited again here at Raising Remarkable Teenagers. You know, everything that we bring on here is to help you and to help myself and to help everyone that you speak to, because again, I encourage you to share this information. Everyone that comes across this message, to raise highly effective teenagers. We just want our young people to be highly effective, and they cannot do that unless they have the right information. So again, thank you so much, Lori, for being here, and welcome.
Thank you, Angela. I like to say that I'm a proud survivor of 3 teenagers.
Oh, we've got a lot to learn from you then.
They all emerged into wonderful young adults, but they did emerge. And I appreciate your having me on, because I love to talk and educate people about hypnosis and kind of dispel myths, because, you know, hypnosis is a natural ability of our brain. And it's not like I'm going to sit here and wave something and have you turn into quacking like a duck or anything like that. Because I consider myself more to be an educator of teaching someone. And I work with children as young as 5 up to, teens, adults. I consider myself to be an educator who teaches people about a part of their brain that they don't even know they have, that's tappable. And, you and I right now are in our conscious state. So we're talking, and, that little mind chatter's going. I'm thinking, I love her logo, and Angela's a beautiful woman, and I'm glad to be here. And what time is it? Like all that mental chatter that goes on upstairs.
Yeah.
But the other part of our brain doesn't have that mental chatter. It's our memories. It's things we associate with. It's experiences that kind of make us who we are today.
Mm.
And before I get into that, I want to give you a little background about how I walked into this field. I've been practicing for 15 years.
Wow.
And I live in Marietta, Georgia, outside of Atlanta, Georgia. And I was a school counselor by training.
Uh-huh.
And I worked with elementary children. And then I met my husband and got whisked away and moved to, Georgia, who did not give me certification. So I had to go into a different field. And so I did training for the state with early childcare. And one day I took a wrong turn, and it said Atlanta National Hypnosis Institute.
Uh-huh.
And that piqued my interest, because when I was in college, I recalled participating in a biofeedback experiment. And the guy, who I recall was very cute, he put electrodes on my head. And he said, Lori, I'm going to teach you how to slow your brain down. So if you ever get nervous or, angry or anything like that, you can actually learn how to calm yourself down with your thoughts. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. And so he told me to imagine a place that I love. And that for me, that's the ocean. That's the ocean, laying on the sand, under the sun, hearing the surf, hearing the waves, hearing the seagulls. And so after about 2 minutes, he had to kind of shake me and bring me out, because I got really deep, because I can really imagine that place and put myself there.
Yes.
So that kind of intrigued me about the brain as an organ and what you can do. So anyway, I took a wrong turn on this road, not that life brings us any wrong turns. And I studied for 3 years, and I wanted to work with children and teens. So I've had additional training with a pediatrician up at Rochester, New York, who's on staff with the medical college in New York. So what I have learned from my work is that whatever we believe, that's our reality. And most of the time when we have beliefs, let's talk about teenagers, for example.
Yes.
When a teenager, believes that they're not popular, or they don't have confidence, or even that they're not a good student, that's just their reality, because that's the way we think.
Yes.
And basically, hypnosis is the study of suggestibility. And this is what I want to tell your parents, because hypnosis is the study of how we learn, how we take in ideas, and how suggestions formulate and move us into our actions and our beliefs.
Yes.
And I wish that I knew what I know now, as we all do.
Yes.
Because I made every mistake in the book with my firstborn, my son, who probably should have been on, ADHD, attention deficit disorder medication. He probably should have been on it, but I was, I did not believe in medicine.
Oh, okay.
I did not believe in it. And, he was labeled oppositional defiant personality. And to me, I knew he had a strong will, but, I just take labels with a grain of salt.
Yes.
But what I used to tell my son from the time he was 5 years old, I would say things to him like, you need to pay attention. You don't pay attention. Pay attention. You don't pay attention. And I said so many times to him, you don't pay attention. Okay, so that's a suggestion. That's a little message unit that goes in the brain.
Yes.
And I said it over and over and over and over again. And a young child doesn't have the ability to say, oh, that means that I should pay attention.
Yeah.
They just take our words and hear it for what it is. I don't pay attention. So that became part of his identity.
Absolutely.
So, instead, I should have said, you are getting so much better at paying attention.
Yes.
Even if he wasn't quite there, I should have said, you're getting so much better at paying attention.
Yes.
And I cannot emphasize how much a positive is so much more powerful than a negative. I teach writing. I teach creative writing. Yes. And I work with young children 2nd to 5th grade. And they tell me things. They share with me. I give them a very open space to be honest. I ask their opinions. I tell them that it's fine. They can tell me really what they think.
Yeah.
And I tell you, criticism just really does not work well with children.
Right. While you're at that, I just want to say to you that research after research, we continue to find that criticizing actually shuts their brain and it hampers development. And that comes back to also negative words that we say to them. And a minute ago, you talked about the subconscious mind and how it's like dropping something into the ground. If you drop if you drop a seed into the ground, what happens? It grows, isn't it? So the things that we say, and it's something I'm very big at, about what vibes, what words are you saying to your young person or around the young person, because they internalize that and make it them.
Amen.
Mm.
Amen. And I'm not familiar with the research that you're talking about, but 100% agree.
I am supporting you with that, because there is research that backs you again and again and again. On this forum, we share personal stories, we share expert stories, and we also share research, so that it's a very balanced, so that people don't, oh, it was just research. We don't want just statistics. It's not just the statistics. There's also real life. We've got those stories. We've got experts. We've got parents that come here and tell us. And all this is just really trying to put all the pieces together so that we can support parents to really do their best in raising their young people. And what you're saying, I'm just adding on to it, saying there is research upon research showing the power of words.
Well, and a lot of times we parent the way we were parented. So if we were heavily criticized, that's what we know.
That's right.
And when you can recognize that and break that cycle, it's very, very powerful.
Absolutely.
Very powerful.
Now, actually, now that you've said that, that is another thing. We call it generational modeling, right? In psychology, we call it generational modeling. So what happens is, unbeknownst to us, we picked up habits, good, bad, and ugly, and we normalize them, and we think they're okay, and then we pass them on to our young people, right? And some of it is quite damning, and it's quite damaging, and especially when we are parenting our kids in this age, in this time and age. Some of the parenting tactics that we were brought up with, they don't work. They're just not conducive for the current environment, right?
Correct.
And I want you to tell us how parents can change from that. I mean, for example, a lot of us, in fact, so many parents come to me, and when they explain their parenting, how they were parenting, you can feel there was a lot of abuse, but some of them don't even recognize it, and they think it's okay.
Right.
And they say, I'm okay, I'm fine, I turned out okay. No, you're not okay, because what you're passing on to your young person, the kid is having mental health problems because of you thinking that you're okay with what. So we need to change that. And that's why I was so excited when you talked about hypnosis, because I know it is one of the ways that we can shift the way we think and the way we act, and hence how we behave and also parent, especially our young people. Yeah, so I'd like you to speak to us about how you can use hypnosis to do that change, to make that change.
Sure. Well, we talked a little bit earlier about being open-minded. And the first thing that we have to do is be open-minded. Yes. The first thing that we have to do is be willing to say to ourselves, maybe my approaches aren't the best.
Yes.
And so you just have to give yourself a little bit of an opening, open the door and consider that first. Yeah. Because then once you do that, you will be open to the kind of things that I say and the kind of things that you say.
Absolutely. And when you say that, because it's very hard for parents and all of us really to make changes. But what I say is, give it a test, Don't negate anything. Don't reject anything without without proof. Test it for yourself. Test it for yourself. And if you test it and you see it doesn't work, then you can then say that from experience, it doesn't work. But don't just reject it without backing. That's not that doesn't help with growth. If we are willing to grow, if we are willing to go to the next level, we must be willing to grow to the next level. And growing takes it takes, like you said, just open the door a little bit. I mean, it's uncomfortable to just open it, hugely open it, but just give it just little gap and see and test it, keep testing it. Yeah, carry on.
Yes, just take a baby foot, just take a little step in by giving your child a compliment. Because sometimes, again, compliments, and I'm not saying that teenagers aren't difficult, and I'm not saying that teenagers don't pull our chains, and I'm not saying that teenagers are not maddening, and I'm not saying that teenagers just test every ounce of cell that we have to be in control.
Yeah.
So if you've been there, you know that teenage animal. It takes so much discipline and willpower to be the calm one. Yes. When this hormonal teenager starts to rage.
Absolutely.
But if you can remove your own emotion, actually a very good way to bring that down is to take a couple slow, very, very slow, deep breaths, and breathe in through your nose. And I know everyone is always told that it's okay, take a slow breath, but the science behind that is because when we get angry, our muscles get tight and our heart starts beating fast because we activate that fight or flight in our brain, and our brain thinks we're in danger. That's right. And so the brain is trying just to get us to calm down, or it's not getting us to calm down. It thinks it's in danger. So it's giving us tools to run.
That's right.
By, getting our breath rapid and getting our muscles tight so we can run. And so when you slow your breath down, and I mean really, really slow, like really slow. It's a practice. It just triggers. It's a chemical trigger to the brain that you're safe.
Absolutely.
And so all of that tightness and everything just kind of starts diffusing, and you're the parent can remain in control, and you can just simply turn your back if you bubble and you're just and just turn your back and take a couple slow a slow breaths in. I want to share with you some things that parents can actually do to learn a little bit more about self-hypnosis, because
Absolutely.
all hypnosis, no one can be hypnotized against their will. And hypnosis, the way to enter that state, that consciousness, is to become in a really relaxed, very physically relaxed place.
Yes.
And then once you get into that really comfort, it's kind of like right before you fall asleep, your body feels heavy.
Yes.
And your mind is clear and you're just kind of floaty. So that's kind of the state that you're in. But once you do that, your imagination is able to see things.
Yes.
and the way that you want them. And that's really the way that I work with kids and teens, and adults.
Yes.
I've worked with a lot of kids who got yelled yelled by a sports coach, or who have injuries and they don't want to get back into the sports arena, and the parents are insistent that they get back into the sports arena. And they've been yelled at, they've been demoralized by an adult figure, that I've had kids that have had injuries, they don't want to get back into it. I've had children who are very angry about divorce, and they're acting out because they're just very angry.
Yeah.
And what I like to tell them is that you can learn a part of your brain, how to use a part of your brain that is going to help really de-escalate and take that anger away and bring you back your confidence and, and everything like that. And for parents, what I want to say is the best time to make suggestions, positive suggestions to your children is at night when they're in bed. And I know, teenagers, we don't necessarily tuck our children in bed like we do our little ones, but when your child is in bed, that's the best time, because you're kind of, before you fall asleep, your brain is just very open to suggestions.
Yeah.
And so if they're worried, now I don't know how it is where you live, but America has just become such a tightly wound anxiety box around school performance. And there's so much pressure put on children as young as second grade to test, do well,
perform. We turned our kids into human doings instead of human beings.
And I don't think that parents necessarily understand the tremendous amount of pressure that especially teenagers have with phones and messages. You see, in hypnosis, we look at everything as a message unit.
Yes.
And everything is a little message unit. And earlier you were talking about, when you're born and the things that are said to us and they go in.
Right.
And we are a sum of all those little, message units. And some days as adults, when you're overloaded because there's a lot of drama happening, or you've got decisions, you've got basically messages come from 4 areas.
Absolutely.
Input. They come from your family, all the personalities in your family.
Yeah.
They come from, if you work, they come from your workplace or your friends.
Yeah.
And they come from your computer, your tablet, your phone. That's a whole array of messaging, especially for children.
Yes.
And teenagers. And then lastly, your body gives you messages. And so the most important way to clear out all that messaging so that you can wake up in the morning feeling clear is to sleep. Because your brain just dumps out all of that messaging, in the evening time.
Absolutely. And biologically, that's why we actually sleep, because that's the time the body rejuvenates. That's the time the body is rebuilding, healing, digesting. All those main processes happen when we are asleep. And what I'm hearing you say is, just before the kid or even yourself experience, actually, because we need to instruct ourselves, actually. In fact, what I always recommend all the time is that let's learn this skill first before attempting to teach another, right? Because it's by modeling and being believable that we can convince another person, that we can guide, that we can influence. So it's obviously for teenagers, it's quite hard. If we've got time, I'm gonna mention what I do with my teenage girl. She's obviously a teenager, hardcore something, own mind, and a really just a normal teenager like any other, obsessed with the phone. There's pressure for her to perform at school. There's competition with other young people. There's comparing. Just a typical, but I will mention a practice that I have found to be very powerful and very grounding. A practice that even now, when she is 4, she's actually coming to 15, end of December. It's something she actually looks forward to. I'll mention it later then.
Okay, well, I'm going to be interested to hear that. So Correct. A parent who, because the parents are the ones that will be listening to this, not the teens.
Yes.
So these are exercises that a parent can learn to do to bring themselves a level of managing everything also.
That we would love to hear that. We would love to hear that, because we like, what we like here is practical steps, you know?
Right.
Because we want to be able to, we are a very practicing group, and something that we encourage and even share, we talk with the audience and say, let's not just be hearers of the word. Let's be practicing people. Let's be practicing parents. We hear something, let's go and test it. Let's go and try it. Why?
Yeah.
Because it's in trying it, it's in doing it that we actually grow. You can have all the good information. I mean, the library, think about the library. The library is full of good information, right? But the library is just that. It doesn't grow. It's just that. But we are people, and if we want to grow, if we want to develop, if we want to rise to higher levels, whatever that is, we need to not only hear the good things, but actually act on them. Practice.
Do it.
Yes. So we'd love to hear how parents can practice this, whether they are steps, strategies, snippets. Yeah.
Well, and we all know that when we feel that we're in control of our emotional self, we're much better at handling our screaming teenager. And we all have been the recipient of those hormones, that anger over, oh, I like your shirt. What do you mean you like my shirt? We've all had those kind of just bizarre kind of responses. And when they come at you like that, you're saying to yourself, gosh, all I did was say good morning. So it just doesn't make sense, but that's just where their brains, their emotions.
That's where their brain is. And I'm just gonna drop in a research piece here. What you just said about them reacting, we are finding that teenagers are not very good at reading emotions or understanding emotions. That's why they get angry at everything, because when they look at you, they think you're angry with them. And what do? Defense. So if we understand this, if we know this kid is not against me, this kid is going through biological processes that make them behave like that, then we can be more compassionate. Actually, let's not think that they are out to get us. That's not what, like you said, there's a lot of happening. There's some changes happening within them that make them react instead of respond rationally.
Yeah. And even our tone of voice can set them up, and we might have a little bit of an attitude in our voice. And that can, because they may not be able to read emotion, but they can certainly, even young children are so good at reading your tone of voice.
Yes.
You can detect annoyance, and everything like that. What I've learned from the teenagers that I work with is that they are so overloaded with managing so much drama with their friends and the boys and fitting in and all of that.
Yeah.
That it's just, in fact, I can't tell you how many parents, now this is hard to do, but I cannot tell you how many parents have taken the phone away from their children for a week, and they cannot believe the difference in their child because it's just removed so much, stuff. And that kind of thing, you might want to call it, a phone vacation. I don't think that it should be presented as a punishment. It should just be presented as, removal from a lot of messaging so that they can have their own thoughts without having to have input from everything else.
Absolutely. And maybe that's what you like you call it. It's a fun vocation.
On vacation.
For example, in our home, we have an understanding, a sort of something we've agreed, especially with the young person, because she's the one that's a bit more out of control, is after 8 o'clock, 7:30, it's calm down time. Let's do something that has nothing to do with any of us looking at the small screen.
Good. Yes.
And there is a difference. There is such a difference, because now everything that was running through, and then it's just before she goes to sleep, right? And I don't know if what I'll do, I'll just I'll allow you to tell us what the rest of the sorry sorry I'll allow you to finish giving us those snippets, and then I will then talk about the bedtime routine, actually, because it's something I've never actually talked to. I have spoken to some of my friends about it, but I've never spoken to my audience about it. And I'm always for, if something is working, share it. And I'm not saying you must do it, but share it. And then if someone tries it and it works, what have you done? You have improved the life of another person. And that's what we are here for, to serve each other. We are a village, we want to share what's working. Let's talk about what's working. That's what this village is. In fact, just this morning, I sent a quote out to my network. And, people ask me, why do you keep insisting that we need to share this information, share this? And this is what I say to them. We want to be the village our teens need instead of villains, right? We need to be the village, not villains. So I'm not hiding any good information that I know. I'm not trying to tell you that you don't know. We are just sharing what we think works.
Well, I'm going to look forward to hearing your routine, because if you've already discovered that, and however you need to call it, whatever you need to label it, that after 8 o'clock at night, we're going to just relax. I put everything kind of in terms of the brain. So I'm going to say, our brains have been working and thinking and hearing all day long. And now it's just time for it doesn't want anything else. And if you can get that phone away, because kids will sit there in bed, which just, creates distraction from falling asleep. So that would be number one. Number two, if you just, if you just keep the door open and make the child feel safe, that they can share things with you, which is not a very natural course of things between parent and teenager to share. But, if you could just get in the habit of saying, if there's anything that's I can be helpful with, or, if there's anything that's bothering you and you want to just get it off your chest, I'm happy to listen. Don't even give them advice unless they ask for it, but just start to open up those doors, so that they can hear.
That's right.
And you can make something up and say, this is how I remember. If you think that it's a peer pressure or something, just make something up about when you were young and how you handled it. And I don't know if that would work for you, but it worked for me, because of course at this age, they know everything and we know nothing.
That's right.
So if you say this might work for you, you might want to try it. But for example, if they have pressure with, let's just say academically, have them, when they get into bed and they're really comfortable, have them just say, use your imagination and see yourself tomorrow in the class, and you've got a big smile on your face because you've just finished that, and your mind was so porous, it remembered everything, and those words just flowed out of your your mind, and you sailed through that test, and it feels good because it's over with. So you can really kind of create mental scenarios after the fact when they, when they had success.
Wow.
Um, and for a parent who finds that their nerves are, they're stretched and they're very impatient and they're yelling more than they know they should, when the parents get into bed at night, just imagine a place that feels really peaceful to you. And it might be your bed, it might be a room with a candle, or the beach or the ocean.
Mm.
Really try to kind of capture that place and learn how to slow your breathing down. And every time you exhale, you're just exhaling out all of that tension from your loving, hormonal, screaming teenager, because they just need someone to get it out with,
That's
because
right.
it's unacceptable at school, and we get that.
Yeah, we get that. We get the steak. We get we
We
get
get
it.
that.
Hmm?
Yeah. But your job as a parent is to learn how to not let that rattle you, and understand it's just a stage they're going through, and to keep yourself calm. And
Right.
so you can learn how to do that, even if your child is going at you and you feel you're about to just blow your top. Just, say, excuse me, I don't want to get angry, and I'm going to walk out
That's right.
respectfully, just excuse me, I don't want to get angry at you. I can tell that you're angry, and I'm going to let you just have some time alone. I'm going to walk out.
That's right.
And then just keep yourself balanced, and just, I understand, and that's really tough, and
Mm.
you're smart, you can figure these things out, you have good judgment,
Absolutely.
all of those kind of things to give them confidence, that they can come to a good
That
conclusion.
is so beautiful when you said, and those are what you would probably call auto-suggestion. When you're sowing those seeds, for example, you say to them, like, if you've got any problem. Now, most teenagers will not want to admit they've got any problems, but like you said, what I would normally suggest to parents is say, for example, oh, I know you're capable of dealing with what is troubling you. I know you're totally capable. But if you need help, as all of us do at one point or another, let me know. So what have you done in that sentence? You've empowered them and you've made them believe, actually, I can do this. Another thing you've done is that you've made them believe that you believe in them, right? And then you've also opened that gap for them to come for help, so that they know they're coming to you, not because they are helpless, because you've already told them that you believe that they can do it, but they're coming to you for help, because we all need help. It's a normal thing for loads of people to need help at one point or another. That way, you have not dehumanized them. You have not diminished their ability. You have not diminished the person they are, but instead, in that sentence, you've empowered them, you've told them they're capable, but you've also showed them that we all need help. It's a very powerful phenomenon, actually, but we need to learn these skills, because it's not anything that our parents taught us. We were just not to be seen, not to be heard at all. There was no empowering. It's like you said earlier, give them compliments. There was none of that. It was constant being told off.
Mhm.
But every teenager has something that you can compliment. And that is the thing we have to look for every day. And what I usually say, and my audience, my parents and my lovely ones know that I say that let's use the 2080 rule. And what's the 2080 rule? Before you ask them to do something, which is the 20, compliment them for four things.
Yes.
Yeah, you see, before that way, you first compliment them so they're in a state of reception.
That is such a basic principle of communication, no matter who it is.
Yes.
If it's your spouse, if it's your employee.
Yes.
The art of communication before you really lay out what it is that you want to have happen is so powerful because it opens your mind to listen.
Absolutely. I am so glad that you came in, and I think we're gonna have you back. You know why? Because I don't think we have covered everything that we
No,
with you.
no, can I just say one closing thing?
Yes.
I know we're a little bit over, but I want to give your listeners one exercise that they can do with themselves in their teenagers.
Yes.
Let your teenagers become aware, and yourself also, that they have this power, this imagination that they can use to practice. They can tap to
Yes.
help them through a lot of different things. And if you find that your teen is tense, ask them to close their eyes and imagine a swimming pool, the ocean, somewhere. Ask them, what's the most comfortable place that you can imagine? And they will close their eyes and they will easily be able to do that. And then tell them to take a couple slow, deep breaths in through their nose and out their mouth. And that exercise right there, they can really develop and learn to break the ropes of tension.
Wow.
That are such a part of, teenagehood.
We really want to have you back, because I think that power of suggestion, that self-hypnosis, and by us learning it, then we can teach our young people. So because we want to empower them to self-manage and self-regulate. And I believe something like hypnosis can really help. Before we finish, because I promised I was going to talk about what you said, I'm actually just adding on what you said, because it's all coming to me about all the things that you said. Is, for example, my daughter, I said she's a typical teenager. She won't speak to me maybe all day or most of the day.
Uh-huh.
She will be, she'll give me attitude, and I don't take it personally. The only thing I mention is, whatever you do, don't be rude to me. Don't call me names or anything. That one, I will not let it go. I will mention it, but I'm not going to stand there and have a tug of war with her. I'll just say, to her, it's not very nice when someone talks to you like you're rubbish. You won't appreciate if I did that to you and then I walk away. Because
Good.
no,
It's good for her to hear that.
absolutely. And then what I do, interestingly, because research is showing us constantly that our teenagers need connection, that love. You know, the things we used to tell them when they were little, I love you, you are, oh, they need that in teenage years more than ever, because research is showing us that 40% of our kids are lonely.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? They have no one affirming them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that need of connection. So let's go back to this teenager who's been not very nice to me all day. But I know the importance of the last thoughts before she sleeps. So this is what I do. I mean, at 8:30, she's put away the phone and everything. At first, she was resisting because she was complaining that everyone's doing it. But then I explained to her of how her brain works and why it's not the best thing to do. Anyway, she's come to terms with that. But it wasn't without a struggle. But then what I do before she goes to sleep, I go to her room, and then I say to her, do you want a head massage? Right? I said to her, do you want a head? Now she knows it's a head massage. So what I do, I start massaging her head, and then I don't know if you're aware of some meridians, some tapping points on the face and on the head that actually calms the brain, the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, these are just words. Just know what to do. You don't have to, like electricity. We don't know the inside of it, and we don't need to, but we can switch on the light and bring it on. So what I do is I just rub those meridians. I just rub them. Normally they are here under the eye and on the side of and then over here. and then over here, and a bit on the shoulder. Just massage the kid. And as you do that, whether they like it or not, they start to calm down. And then as they calm down, that's when I'm saying to her words of affirmation or asking her about how it went. Or, that's when you hear things that they wouldn't have told you any other time. She tells me, so I really value that 10 minutes before she sleeps. So she will tell me, and when she doesn't have anything to tell me, I will remind her of how precious she is, how capable she is, how, and sometimes you just say, yeah, you just say, but I know that it's
going in.
It's going in. And it's the last thing that's happening before she sleeps. And what happens when they sleep? The last words, some of the last thoughts are what marinates. That is what drops into the subconscious. And that's where confidence and self-esteem of our kids comes from. It is work. It is some sort of work. And this is something I would encourage you to practice. Of course, you've got to gain the trust with your kid first, because you can't, especially teenagers. I have to ask her, do you want a head massage? Before, when I started it, when I learned about this, I just said to her, oh, can I just have she has sometimes braids and all that. Can I have a look at what, just hair and all that? And obviously, as I started to do it, she said, oh, mommy, that's really nice. So so we've got even boys. You can pick something on them that is going to, like Lori said, give them an opportunity to open that door just a little, because at that point, just before they go to sleep, they're very, very receptive. And those are some of the thoughts, and those are some of the beliefs that are going to guide them. When you see confident, self-esteem, kids with self-esteem, they don't just get it in one day. They don't. It's a result of being affirmed in one way and another in different ways. So that's a practice. Actually, maybe I should curate it and just do it, and then I'll share it down here with our video, the whole process. And
that's
thanks to you, Lori, because you're the one that made me remember it and want to share it. So before we finish, right, again, I'm going to ask you, I know you told us loads of things, but I want you to tell our audience 3 things, 3 practices, 3 snippets or strategies or steps that they can do this week to improve their relationship with their young person, or even improve their own self, because it's like we said earlier, it's important to look after yourself, because you're the one looking after the young person. So what 3 things would you recommend that we do as soon as this week, and we are likely to see change?
Yes. Practice slow breathing a couple times a day. In through your nose and out your mouth. And you can practice that when you're calm, when nothing's going on. It's just practice so that it becomes automatic.
Yeah.
And it becomes automatic so that when you're in that moment, you immediately and get a hold of yourself so that you're not responding in a way that doesn't serve anybody's purpose. So that's number 1, is slow breathing. Number 2, tap your imagination when you're in bed and imagine a place that is just wonderfully comfortable, peaceful, serene. It might be a place from your childhood. It could be a park that's near you. And some people are visual. Some people can see those images, and other people, like I do not see visually when I close my eyes. So If you see it, you see it. And if you don't, you just think about it and it's all the same.
Yeah.
So come up with a place that you can kind of mentally go to and practice that and just allow your physical body to just start to release any kind of tension like that.
Yeah.
And the third thing is just like you said, Angela, give your child one positive statement.
Wow.
And really watch their face when you do it.
Oh.
Just a positive statement and really watch them because many times they don't hear it. They haven't heard it. You know, you handle things well. I'm so glad you're my child. I'm so glad that we're figuring things out together. I'm so glad that you trust me.
Yes.
All of those things that they're not going to verbalize, if you just kind of every day make it a point to say one or two things and watch their face,
Yeah.
It can help really kind of develop those positive habits of you know, affirmation and everything like that, that children, like you said, need.
Absolutely. So what I heard from you, beautiful, beautiful snippets.
Yeah, I enjoyed you so much, Angela. You're just you know, you're a beautiful, intuitive, and you figured out so many things. I love what you do to your daughter, with your daughter at night. It's beautiful.
Oh, thank you so much. So everyone, you've heard that. Slow breathing, right, is the first one. The next one, before you sleep, imagine something nice, a beautiful thing, a beautiful place. See it in your mind, and if you can't, feel it. And then the third thing is say something positive. Affirm your young person, affirm your teenager. Just keep doing it. I am so pleased, and I am so thankful, Lori. And I think we're gonna have you back again because there is so much that actually we haven't covered. I'm thinking I want to hear more about the subconscious mind. I know what I know, but
Yes.
I like it when different people share it from different perspectives. Because then our parents have many different ways of relating with it. And again, like I keep saying, I love to share. And because I want us to be able to know and practice these tactics, the steps, whatever name we want to call it. And I also want us to learn so much so that we can train our young people to follow suit. So I think we're going to be having you soon sometime.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, you're such an amazing guest for us. And I think you guys, you love Lori, don't you? I'm so excited. And as always, very, very appreciative of your expertise and the stories you've shared with us. And here at Raising Remarkable Teenagers, our top aim is to help parents raise highly effective teenagers. And with that, we finish this episode, and we are so grateful. And thank you guys for watching. And I encourage you to share this video, this podcast, this information, so that we really can be the village that our teenagers need. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you, Angela.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.